Good evening and welcome to the Stephanie Humphrey channel and the Stephanie Humphrey podcast. How are you all doing this wonderful, lovely, beautiful, amazing evening? There we go. Awesome. I was waiting for one thing to happen there before I started my conversations. I'm looking at YouTube and it looks really bad. Like it looks really grainy. I don't know why it's looking so grainy. But it is looking grainy on my YouTube side, which is really interesting. But I'm going to let it be as long as I'm on. I'm just going to let it be. I don't know how it looks from your perspective, viewers, but from my perspective, it looks grainy. And I don't really like that. I'm not going to do too much about it right now, but just not liking the way it looks. But either way, how y'all doing? How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing mentally? How are you doing physically? How are you doing socially? How are you doing emotionally? How are you all doing? I'm doing pretty good outside of looking at this grainy backdrop. I'm feeling pretty good this evening. I got a chance to work out today with some ladies, and it was really nice. We just had a good time working out and chatting and joking with each other. So I really, really enjoy myself. So I'm really glad about the opportunity to work out with some folks, encouraging me to work out on my own, right? And so very thankful for that. Yeah, how about you? So I'm feeling really good about that. I have a few things I need to get done before the weekend, like between this evening and tomorrow. And so I'm feeling good about that. Like I feel really, confident, really good that everything is going to get done. So look, I see it fuzzy from my end, but when I'm on another device, it doesn't look as fuzzy. So it might just be the way my device is handling itself right now, and that's okay. All right, so I feel good about that. Hallelujah. All right, y'all. So welcome. Let's try that again. Welcome, love. Welcome to Sip and Say with Stephanie. How y'all doing this evening? I already asked y'all that, right? So add it to the chat. Let me know how you're doing if you're listening live or if you're listening to the rebroadcast. Just add it to the comment section later. You all, tonight I'm focusing specifically on North Carolina. So you all know I've been talking about the new proposed voter guidelines. I've been talking about some new bills that the North Carolina legislature is introducing. So that's what I want to focus on tonight. That's what I want to talk about tonight. So if you're not in North Carolina, stick with us. You'll learn what's happening in North Carolina because, as we know, you all have heard me say this. I know you have heard other people say this. You probably have said it yourself. What happens in one state sometimes trickles down to other states, or trickles down up or across to other states. And so it's important for us to know what is going on in America, about to say in the world. It's important for us to know what's going on in the world, yes, but it's important for us to know what's going on in our state as well as in other states. So I'm specifically focusing on North Carolina tonight. I did have a little bit of news that I was going to go over tonight, but I decided just to really focus on these proposed voting rules and the new bills that they want us to vote on. And they're actually constitutional amendments that they want us to vote on in November. Maybe you're in North Carolina and you don't know that this is happening, and I want to let you know that this is happening. Now I'm going to go over everything just briefly, just generally, and then I'm going to share the links in the description so that you can actually pull the links up for yourself. It is so good for someone else to give us information and tell us what's going on, but it's a whole nother thing for us to look at it for ourselves so that we can read it and understand it and reread it and comprehend it so we know exactly what is happening. So it's good to hear, but it's also good to look, see, and research for ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to give you the tools to do that as well. All right, so before we get there, I'm going to do the Black History fact at the end, okay? Matter of fact, I really want to do it now. I'm going to go ahead and do it now, but as I'm getting my calendar down, what are y'all sipping on tonight? Y'all know me. I'm sipping on straight up H2O, straight up water as always. So y'all know that's what I do. Every now and then I'll have me some non-alcoholic, which I'm due. I don't think I got a little sip left. I'm due for some non-alcoholic wine. Um, it's not non-alcoholic, it's alcohol free. That's what we call alcohol free, alcohol free. So I need to get me some more because I'm dwindling. I'm dwindling. Um, and so okay, I thought I had my other calendar up here. Child, my calendar is bending. I put some little tape on it so I can try to hold it together, but don't want to damage the pages. Anywho, let me give us our Black History facts, and then we're going to get right into the North Carolina voter information. So today is June 25th, 2026. That's our date for today. On June 25th, 2020, not 2020, on June 25th, 2013, in Shelby County versus Holder, the Supreme Court invalidates key provisions of the Voting Rights Act, removing protections that had shielded voters from racial discrimination since 1965. And we know that even before then, they had started gutting out that they had started since then, the Supreme Court has been gutting key provisions in the Voting Rights Act since 2023. And so we are essentially at no Voting Rights Act currently because the Supreme Court has ruled that those key provisions are no longer needed to protect Black voters. And so Black voters and other voters of color. And so, yeah. All right, y'all. June 20th. I got to get the North Carolina voters. I was sitting there grieving for just a moment. But let's move forward because I have a lot of information to share with us, and I want to make sure I do so in a timely manner. On June 24th, 1943, angered by Black soldiers socializing with white British soldiers and civilians, U.S. military police in England opened fire on Black soldiers. They killed Private William Crossland. So I wonder why the U.S. military police in England just didn't go over and talk to them. Why did they have to open fire on them? Just the evilness, the cruelty of people is displayed every day in your neighborhood, in my neighborhood, in somebody else's neighborhood, somebody's state, somebody's county, somebody's city. Evilness, racism, hatred is displayed faithfully. Yeah, I'm going to use the word faithfully. In 1903, on June 23rd, more than 4,000 white people in Wilmington, Delaware, burned a Black man named George White to death before he can stand trial. We don't know what he was in trial for. I don't have that information. So we'll have to look that up for ourselves. On June 22nd, 1901, after a white farmer is killed in Sabin County, Texas, white mobs terrorized the Black community, lynching 9 Black men within a 24-hour period. It was probably one of his white neighbors that killed him. June 21st, 1940, but that was common for a white person to commit a crime and blame it on Black people, giving them not that they needed much ammunition, but giving them the ammunition to do whatever they wanted to do to Black people because they didn't need a reason. But boy, oh boy, they loved it when they were given one. 4,000 white people, y'all, 4,000. Who child? They say racism isn't dead. I know that was 1903, but child is still alive and well today. Excuse me, that was 1901. The other one, the 4,000 white men in Wilmington, Delaware, was 1903. The white farmer being killed 1908. And it doesn't have a specific number of individuals, just says a white mob terrorized the Black community. On June 21st, 1940, Jesse Thornton, a black man, is lynched in Laverne, Alabama, for referring to a white police officer by his name without using Mr. He was killed for that. Ooh, child, Lord have mercy. Child, let me tell you, I'm going to keep on going with these facts. June 26, 1844, after slavery is declared illegal in Oregon, officials pass laws that prohibit Black people from residing in the state and authorize the whipping of Black people found there. Yes, there was slavery happening in northern countries as well as southern countries. I'm sorry, northern countries, northern states as there were in southern states. Our last fact, I believe, June 27th, 1911, a mob of several hundred white men lynches two Black men, Tom Allen and Joe Watts, in Walton County, Georgia, after a local white judge refuses to protect them. No surprise there. I'm going to go ahead and read the rest of the facts. We only have 3 more days. June 28th, 1962, Atlanta's Dinkler Plaza Hotel refuses a room to Undersecretary General for the United Nations and Nobel Peace Prize laureate Dr. Ralph Bunche because he is Black. I said that was 1960. 72, 82, 92, 2002, 2012, 22. That was 63 years ago, which is not a long time ago. On June 29th, 1958, Bethel Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, pastored by the Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, a leading civil rights activist. It is bombed. 1958, 25. 58, 59 season. It's not 25, but 28 years ago. I said 28, 68 years ago. Let me make sure I got right. Yep, 68. Last Black History fact, June 30th, 1829, officials in Cincinnati use local laws to force Black residents to leave the city. Those are Black History facts for the evening. I'm not further commenting. Y'all know I'll be having some comments about these Black History facts, but I got to get into this North Carolina voter information. So I am going to start that. I'm going to have my head down because the information is low. And I got my little notes here because I was like, I did have some notes on a few things that I wanted to share. I didn't want to forget to share. Oof. Okay, I think I'm gonna make an adjustment here. See what happens. Okay. Gotta make a little adjustment here just to make sure I can kind of still see you and still I don't really want that high. Let's see, y'all give me a second. I'm gonna get this together. I wonder why. Hold on, y'all. I'm just trying to get my stuff together here. I really don't want that to be seen. Let me see. Hold on a second, y'all. Because I'm going to get this like I want it to before I move on. Just trying to get, for my podcast listeners, I'm just trying to get my video and stuff together on my side. Ooh, I don't like it. I try to go back to the way I used to do my thing, but it wasn't working for me. So anyway, it's okay. Technical difficulties. I think it's fine like it is. I just wanted to be able to look at you all without looking down too far with the information that I have. So you all, I'm going to go ahead and start with the proposed voting guidelines. So proposed voting guidelines. So we are going to be And the interesting thing about this, you all, instead of them, and I should have looked up the law because I didn't think about it. So right, well, I think I thought about it before, but I didn't think about it for the purpose of sharing this information. But they, if you when you look at the information about these four proposed voting rules in North Carolina, you're going to see at the bottom that they go into effect September 1st, 2026, without the voters voting on these things, without, well, they actually have the information on the North Carolina State Board of Elections website. They have had dates up there for comments for public hearing. I'll share those dates with you. Some of them have already passed. There's also information where you can make a, if you did not get an opportunity to make a public comment or go to the public hearing to make a comment, you can actually email your thoughts, your concerns, your comments on these specific rules. But these rules are going to go into, I mean, y'all, these Republicans in North Carolina are some of the worst, in my opinion. They are some of the absolute worst. So let's just get into it. So the first, and I'm taking these one at a time, you all, so it might take me a little bit of time to get to each one. First one I'm going to talk about is absentee voting rules. The public hearing for this one was actually on June 22nd at 10 a.m., but you can still share your comments by emailing rulemaking.sboe@ncsbe.gov. And then you just put a note to say which of the specific four rules that you are commenting on. Okay. I'm going to add all of this information to the description, so don't you even worry about trying to write it down. Okay. So this absentee voting or proposed absentee voting rule. Okay, so when I look through this, the things that and it took me further. It took me somewhere I didn't want to go. Hold on, y'all. I got to get back up. Now, my computer's not trying to cooperate with me. Okay, there we go. So this particular guideline, so whenever you look at a proposed amendment or a new guideline, I don't know how it is in other states, I'm just focusing on North Carolina. When words are underlined, that means that those words are new. And of course, you can see if they mark out a word, you can see the word that they strike out and the new word that they're proposing. For this particular absentee voting rule, proposed absentee voting rule, everything is underlined. Every single thing is underlined. So this appears to be a new introduction. Okay. So of course it's talking about, if you do vote absentee, the curable deficiencies that can be addressed. Those curable deficiencies are those deficiencies that may happen, like, for example, under OANCAC 18.0502, curable deficiencies. Under A, number one, it says the absentee voter did not sign or make their mark on the application. If the county board staff determined the voter's signature on the application appears to be the name of the voter assigned the application number on the ballot envelope that is required under General Statute 163-23.1 parentheses C parentheses 2, and not some other person, then that is not a deficiency, even if the signature is illegible. So that being said, they would accept that particular ballot. So those are curable deficiencies. Those things that can be managed enough that that absentee ballot will be received. Okay. There's also the non-curable deficiencies, which say we are not going to be able to cure these or accept these absentee ballots like right away. Like we're not going to be able to do it right away. However, there is provisions for those non-curable deficiencies to be corrected. And there's also irregularities that do not require further action from the voter. So there are some irregularities within this particular proposed election guideline. All of this is new. All of this is absolutely new because all of it is underlined. There are some general statutes that are referenced in this particular proposed voter guideline, but I just don't like I don't like that they have that they are proposing it, because I feel like the legislators, the state board of elections, who's under the North Carolina controller, which I mean, excuse me, not controller, the state auditor, which is a Republican person, it should be over the governor. When they found out Democratic Governor Josh Stein won, then they put the Republican supermajority in North Carolina, put the state board of elections under the auditor because it's a Republican and somebody they can control. I just don't like the fact that they put this in place, because I feel like they're trying to regulate absentee ballots. Again, the link will be in the description so you can check it out for yourself. There's really nothing, all of this is new. Everything is underlined, so all of it is new. And so I just want you to be able to read it for yourself, and make a comment about it if you feel like you need to. I know that my comments are already ready. I have not sent them off because we have until July, I think July 14th. I'm going to clarify that at the end. I think it's till July 14th where we can make comments about these proposed voting rules in North Carolina. So that's the absentee voting rule. It shouldn't be this hard to vote. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Okay, let me go on to the photo ID rules, because that is another. They have. It used to be in North Carolina that when you voted, you did not have to show your ID. You gave them your name, you gave them your address, you confirm your name, confirm your address, confirm all the other information, and you can vote. A couple of years back, North Carolina Republicans passed the North Carolina voter ID law, so that you have to present your voter ID, or present, excuse me, not a voter ID, but present an ID in order to vote. Now, comment for this happened June 9th at 2. The public hearing happened at 2, but again, you still have time up until mid-July to make a comment. You know what? Let me go back to the absentee, because I wrote down a note and I want to make sure. Okay, so that's for one of the other ones. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right, so going back to the voter ID, or excuse me, the photo ID rules, not vote. I keep saying voter ID, but photo ID rules. So let me see what I wrote here. So the thing I do not like about this, or one of the things I do not like about this, is they have made, so most of this was already in existence, but they did take out some of the language and replace it with other language. The main thing being so if there was a concern, for example, I'm looking at, let me see if I can go back up to the first one, because they struck this out a couple of times in this particular statute. So I'm looking at 08 NCAC 17.0101, which is chapter 17 of the photo identification guidelines. If you go all the way down to It is number 3 under E. And then if you look again, it's under B, the way they have it broken down. So if a voter did not, so let me read it. This is B. Let me just read it so you can understand. If the photo identification is not an acceptable type of photo identification under subparagraph A1 of this rule, then the staff member shall inform the voter of the reasons for that determination. While the voter is at the county board of office, while the voter is at the county board of office, comma, and invite the voter to provide an acceptable photo identification in accordance with subparagraph D and 2 of this rule. That's where all the A, B's, and C's and D's come from. If the voter does not provide acceptable identification, this is the old language, by 5 p.m. on the business day prior to the canvass, the deadline for doing so in General Statute 163-166.16c, then county board staff shall recommend disapproval of the provisional ballot to the county board. Now, they struck out by 5 p.m. on the business day prior to canvass. And the new language is if the voter does not provide acceptable identification by the deadline for doing so in General Statute 163-166.16c, then county board staff shall recommend disapproval of the provisional ballot to the county board. So this would be another step for voters. So they're reading this particular this proposed voter guideline, and now they have to go look up General Statute 163-166. Who's going to take the time to read all of this and then go look up what that general statute says? Well, I looked it up, and the general statute says that the time is 12 p.m. So now you are no longer able to provide acceptable identification for this particular, part of this guideline. You have to provide the identification or the information by noon, as opposed to 5 p.m. They took away 5 hours for you to produce an acceptable form of identification for your provisional ballot. Why would they do that, number one? And two, why wouldn't they just say 12 p.m.? The original language was by 5 p.m. on the business day prior to the canvass, but they took out a time and they actually put a general statute in there, which to me makes it a little bit more difficult for accessibility, because now, first of all, I don't even know what GS means. I know what GS means because I've been doing this for a little while, but a voter looking this up for the first time may not know what GS is. So now they got to go looking for, well, what does GS say? This particular general statute says it's 12 o'clock, y'all. By 12 o'clock, you would have to submit the acceptable form of ID for this particular portion of the proposed voter guideline. That language is actually changed in this entire proposed voter guideline. It takes out the 5 p.m. on business day prior, and it adds the deadline for doing so in that particular general statute. I don't like that. I don't like that because to me, it's not accessible and it's not plain language. If you could put 5 p.m., if 5 p.m. has already been established and that language is already in, if you want to strike out 5 p.m., put 12 p.m. in. Don't send voters looking for more information to be able to understand what the guidelines are when they need to make corrections for voting. You're making it more difficult, North Carolina state Republicans. You're making it more difficult for voters to access information and to be able to make the corrections that they need to make in a timely manner. Some people do take a 12 o'clock lunch break, but now I'm trying to get to the Board of Elections. I only have an hour for lunch. Like, how is that going to impact me being able to eat and get back to work on time, or not eat, but still get back to work on time? 5 o'clock, at least if it's 5 o'clock, if I get off at 5, I can ask my supervisor, do you mind if I get off 30 minutes early? I need to go take care of something at the State Board of Elections. I'll come in 30 minutes earlier. Maybe you already have some time saved that can make up for that 30 minutes. Like, I feel like they have decreased the time frame for you to be able to make corrections if you need to make corrections for your voter identification based on this guideline. Also, they added new language in here about provisional ballots. Um, and having an affidavit. If you need an affidavit, if you don't have an ID, you can present an affidavit. So they put language in this law for that, which is absolutely new because it's all underlined. And again, this, even though these are proposed election guidelines, if you look at the end of each of these guidelines, it says amended effective September 1, 2026, which lets me know they don't care about the public comment, even though they have made, even though they have given dates and times for there to be public comment, and they have given the email for you to email your public comment if you're not able to make the in-person session. They still decided to put amended effective September 1st, 2026. And it's underlined, so it make it seem like it's proposed, but y'all, this, whoo, I just want to say you ain't slick. Y'all ain't slick. Y'all are not slick. Okay, so those are my thoughts on the photo rules that they have reduced the time frame for getting, or the hours to make the correction. And because they don't specify, you have to look up the information to be able to understand what it means. I don't like that. I don't appreciate it. Not one bit. So for those of you who just tuned in, I'm strictly talking about voter information in North Carolina. We have several, 4 exactly, proposed election guidelines that our legislators have proposed. And then we have some constitutional amendments that they have proposed. Now, the constitutional amendments, as we know, will be voted on in November. And I want to share. So that's all I'm doing tonight, is all about North Carolina voter information, so that North Carolina voters know what the heck is going on with these Republicans in our state. Oh my goodness. So this next, I'm on number 3. So these are the recount rules. Oh, child, these recount rules. So look, the language that I do not like in here is that they have decided that they would strike out assigned members, so that the state board, or excuse me, the county board would be able to, as the language is now, the county board could assign individuals to make up this bipartisan team in order to do recounts. But now they have it where the individuals have to be assigned officials in that particular county. So no longer members, like perhaps it's an election worker, or a poll worker. I hate that poll term, but an election worker. They cannot assign them as officials. Officials must be assigned, as opposed to, let me look, because I didn't write that part down. They have to be, hold on. Yes, they have to be assigned now, as opposed to, oh, that's not where. Appointed. I know it's a slight difference, y'all, but they used to be, these individuals that make up this bipartisan team used to be appointed by the county boards. Now they have to be assigned, which is something a little bit different, because appointments are something that the counties could do, and I think they still could do, but they took out the word appointed, and they have to be assigned, okay, to this bipartisan team. To me, that makes a difference. And saying it out loud sounds a little crazy, right? But appointed is to officially choose or designate someone for a role or position, often based on qualifications or suitability. Okay. So before they were appointed, so that was something specific. Now they are assigned. Assignment means to give someone a specific task, duty, or project, regardless of qualifications or preference. This can be general, and it could be informal. So going from something specific, so I had it backwards. So I apologize, fact checking myself in real time, correcting myself in real time. So the appointed is somebody more official with the qualifications to serve on this particular team, but now you could be assigned. Now they say the person is assigned, which means it could be anybody. It could be anybody. So let me get to the part where it says things must be official, because I mix the two up, but not necessarily, but that's incorrect. Okay. So no longer are people appointed because they are qualified, they are assigned, which means qualifications may or may not be a part of whoever is signed. Another part of this particular guideline is as it relates to recounts. It states, so it marked out, so the County Board of Elections shall conduct recounts only as follows. The recount is mandatory under General Statute 163-182.7B or C, or General Statute 163-182.7A. Or the recount is not mandatory, but the County Board of Elections or the State Board of Elections determines, using its authority under General Statute 163-182.7A, that in order to complete the canvass, a recount is necessary. Well, they are proposing to strike out the recount is not mandatory. But so they struck those words out, and it will read, the County Board of Elections or the State Board of Elections determines, using its authority, that in order to complete the canvass, a recount is necessary. So that is giving the state board or the county board permission to do a recount, whether it's mandatory or not, whether it's necessary or not. Whew, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Because some recounts are not, if you won by 500 points, or whoever the person is that they win by 500 votes, excuse me, then that person has won. Like, just let it be, let it go. We had an issue with Justice Anita Earls. I can't remember the man or the candidate that was running against her, but she won by, I think, a few hundred votes, and he wanted recounts done and wanted this to happen and wanted this to happen. Bruh, you lost. And it took months before the state board would certify the election results. Justice Anita Earls won. So I don't like that particular change in this voter ID. Excuse me, not the voter ID, but the recount rules. And let me see, was there something else? There was something else in here that I didn't like. So this is odd to me that they added 4 officials in here. And because this word is underlined, it means it's new language, but it doesn't make sense without the officials in it. So I don't know what was there before. That's what has me puzzled about this. If in conducting hand-to-eye recounts or recounts of paper ballots, a bipartisan team of 4 shall, okay, so that's what it is. They added 4 officials. So it used to be a bipartisan team of 4 individuals, but now they have noted, this is where the officials come in. Now they have noted it has to be 4 officials shall be assigned. Okay, 2 officials, one from each of the 2 parties in the state with the largest number of registered voters, to relay the results of each ballot. So they actually added officials into the 4, which is interesting because because the officials are assigned. So that could be tricky. It says it's a bipartisan team, but that could be a little bit tricky depending on which who is making the assignments and which officials are assigned. So I don't like that language as well. So yeah. Yeah, don't like that language. So again, all of this will be available under the description so you all can read these rules for yourself. Last rule for the voting, the last proposed election rule is the proposed voting site rules. Now, this rule is stupid. I'm gonna just to sip and say with Stephanie, so I'm gonna say how I feel. Every single word in this particular election rule is underlined, which means it's new. Okay, it is new. Hey, Uncle Darnell, glad that you're here. See that you're drinking some H2O. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So everything except for the bottom part. I'm sorry, that's the top part. Hold on, let me get to the bottom. Everything in this particular proposed election rule is underlined. And as I shared with you before, everything that's underlined is new. Okay. And then, of course, if a word or words are striked out or struck out, striked out, then that means they're introducing new language. Okay. But all of this is new. The thing that I don't like about this particular so the voting site buffer zones, I don't even understand why they're making voter buffer zones because election sites already have a specific location where individuals who may be disabled or may have limited mobility, they can vote like curbside voting. And so this particular guideline or this particular proposed rules now gives specific language about how voting places should introduce these buffer zones. Um, and they have to adopt resolutions for doing this prior to the start of voting. The chief judge or the judge designated will mark the boundaries and make everything clear. I mean, they were already doing this, so I don't understand why we need a guideline for this because it was already happening. Okay, so that's one thing. They also added some language about voting site electioneering zone, meaning that, of course, if you are representing a particular candidate, if you want to pass out information about that candidate at the voting location, you have to stay within I forget the certain feet. You have to stay within a certain feet away from the entrance of the polling site as not to hinder anybody who wants to go in to vote. I'm gonna look it up because I didn't look it up and I don't know because I've never really cared what the feat was. I would just take the information that they shared and go on into the polling site. I already knew who I was voting for. Anyway, but I would take it just polite and I would take everybody's information, Republican information, Democratic information. Usually there were the only two parties there, but sometimes there were independent candidate representatives there. I would take everybody's information to be polite because I understand that. And so let's see. I don't know what it is. It's taking too long to look it up. So whatever it is, they have added information here about the electioneering zone, which again was already established. We did not need more language for it, but it's in here. They also talked about having actually a physical border, which doesn't make sense because I've never felt harassed. There were always a lot of people, a lot of candidates. Well, not a lot of candidates because there's usually representatives of the candidate or for the candidate that would be there. There was one election, the last primary that I went to. I think it was last year's. Well, we didn't have voting. Yeah, I think it was for the presidential election. When I went to vote for the presidential election, yes, it was, there was actually a candidate there running for a local office. And he was there and he's like, thank you. So, and I recognized him, talked to him, didn't talk much, but just, he was like, thank you for voting. Yes, something I do all the time. Just small chat, before I went in. I have never felt pressed by any candidate's representative to vote for them. It was always wanting to share this information with you. It was nothing that made me feel uncomfortable or that I needed to report anybody. And this is for the length of the time that I've been voting. I've never felt any type of voter intimidation from any candidate or representative that was at the election site handing out their information. Never have. And I'm thankful for that. And so, but anyway, this particular portion of the guideline talks about voting site electioneering zone. So it's saying here that the chief judge or the judge designated by the chief judge shall mark the boundary of the electioneering zone consistent with the County Board of Elections resolution adopted under this rule. So, and it also talks about, I don't know if they would actually put a physical boundary. I have never seen physical boundaries at any election poll that I've visited since I've been voting. I've never seen boundaries placed for electioneering. People just knew how far to be away. And as far as I was concerned, they was far enough away from the entrance that, you could just move in and out, swiftly without walking over anybody or anything like that. But it talks about marking boundaries. It also says the zone shall be marked or caused to be marked with signage, cones, rope, tape, or some other visible marker that the chief judge determines is appropriate for assuring peace and good order at the voting place in accordance with OANCAC 10B.0101B18 and 19 when taking into account the physical layout, dimensions, and parking areas of the voting site. To me, it's just a barrier. I have never heard of any issues, at least in North Carolina, where those who are electioneering interfered with anybody voting. So why we need this guideline, I do not know. And then the last part of this proposed voting election guideline is conduct at voting sites. This is stupid, but I'm going to read it to y'all because I want y'all to hear how stupid it is. Y'all ready? Brace yourself. No person outside, I said no person outside of the voting place at a voting site during the hours of voting shall make or cause any noise at a volume that is audible to the chief judge or a judge when that official is in the voting enclosure. So I'm on the inside of my voting place, but this guideline says no person outside of the voting place at a voting site during the hours of voting shall make or cause any noise at a volume that is audible to the chief justice or judge. Now, I think this is stupid because if somebody is riding by in their car, noise might be heard. I mean, how you gonna stop that? I might see somebody ain't seen in a long time and we just start hee-hawing and just enjoying ourselves. We're not blocking the entrance to the voting site. We're just outside talking and having a good time. Now that's gonna be a problem. If President Barack Obama or First Lady Michelle Obama happen to walk up at the election site, I know that's not going to happen. I don't live in Chicago, Illinois, but just in case, they just happen to be in North Carolina, I'm going to holler, scream, shout, and do everything I want to do. That's going to be a problem. I'm just saying, I just want y'all to hear how ridiculous this particular guideline is, okay? If the chief judge or a judge determines that a person, and it says if the chief judge or a judge, any judge, determines that a person has made or is making a noise in violation of this rule, they shall inform the person that the noise is disrupting the orderly conduct of voting and the ability for persons to communicate when they are within the voting enclosure. The chief judge or judge shall require the person to decrease the volume such that it is no longer audible in the voting enclosure. I'm going to tell y'all where I vote. I actually vote in the library. I used to vote at a church. And even the church and the library, so the church we voted in their dining hall. The dining hall, first of all, the parking lot is enough away from the dining hall that you're not even going to hear nothing that's going on outside. Then you got to walk up the ramp to get to the dining hall, which is where we used to vote. The library the parking lot is on the left and the right side of the entrance of the library. Like there's absolutely no parking right at the entrance of the library. You're parking to the right or to the left. So you ain't going to hear nothing, no way. And not only that, but you're walking up to the place from your parking lot. You're walking into this humongous lobby before you even get to the library entrance to be able to go in to go vote. So it's so many layers, at least the two voting places that I voted at recently, there's so many layers before you even get to the actual election hall that you ain't going to hear nothing. So this rule, I feel like Republicans, at least in North Carolina, don't have nothing better to do but to make up stupid rules. But this is a stupid rule, in my opinion, and that's what I say. But y'all listen to this. This is number 2 of this particular OANCAC TNC.0104. No, now this was talking about if the judge hears it within the election enclosure, meaning where we are actually voting, if they hear outside noise. This is number 2. No person outside of the voting place at a voting site shall use a sound amplification device during the hours of voting. If the chief judge or a judge, they keep going between these judges, child, determines that a person, I know that the chief judge is a person that, let me see, I got a definition. Chief judge means a precinct official appointed as a chief judge for a voting site in accordance with General Statute 163. Yeah. But then it says a judge. So I know that's what it say. It says that judge means a precinct official appointed as a judge of election for a voting site in accordance with that particular statute. Okay, so we understand what that means. Okay, so no person outside of the voting place at a voting site shall use a sound amplification device during the hours of voting. If the chief judge or a judge determines that a person at the voting site is using a sound amplification device in violation of this rule, they shall inform the person that the use of the device is disrupting the orderly conduct of voting and the ability for persons to communicate when they are within the voting enclosure and electioneering zones. Child, I do not care if somebody is on a bullhorn. I don't know if that used to be allowed because I feel like, I don't know. I'm probably thinking of somebody shouting about Jesus on the corner. Y'all know how that happens. So anyway, so of course there's an exception because, as I was reading this, I was like, okay, my teacher mind started going because there are children that we serve that are deaf or hard of hearing. And those students that are hard of hearing, we actually have an amplification device to amplify our voice so that they can hear the teaching or the directions or the instruction, whatever it is information we're sharing with them, that hard of hearing individual, that hard of hearing child can actually hear us. So of course, that's the first thing I thought about. What if it's somebody that's hard of hearing and they need the amplification in order to vote, And of course, there is an exception for that. A sound amplification device does not include a device that is used for accessibility, which is what I was talking about, or emergency purposes, or that is used by or at the request of the chief judge or a judge when facilitating the orderly conduct of voting at the voting site. So I felt good about it because, I don't know what Republicans going to do because, they don't like making exceptions oftentimes. So anyway, so there is that exception. I don't know. I feel like I have been somewhere where they've used a bullhorn before, but I feel like that was like years ago because I've been voting for a number of decades now. And I might be thinking about it wrong. I might be thinking of something totally different, but you know, just using it or people playing music because I have been just recently voting last year, not last year, but in 2020. 2020, did we vote in 21? Yeah, 21. No, it wasn't 21. It has to be an even year. This is 2020. Oh, this is 2026. Well, that took us back too far. When we voted in 2024, excuse me, I took us back way too far. I don't know that they were playing music then, but I feel like I have been somewhere where they were playing music because they were just sitting out there talking. And I feel like I have heard music before at a site. I don't know if it was recently or a while ago, but it wasn't like distracting. And I don't even think I heard it until I got kind of close up because they had a tent out and people were sitting out and they were just relaxing. They were far away. They were far away from the entrance and exit. They were kind of like on the outskirts. But I feel like they had music playing. They kind of made it like a party and made it fun for those that were coming up to vote. And so that can no longer happen. And so I think that's interesting. Well, it says a amplification, but it does specify in here, reason why I talked about music. It does say, for the purposes of this rule, sound amplification device means a mechanical or electronic device that increases a sound's volume, including portable speakers, bullhorns, megaphones, public address systems, vehicle mounted speakers or audio systems, and any vehicle's internal audio system that is audible beyond the interior of the vehicle. So that's why I mentioned the music. I like when I walked up and heard that music because, like I said, they were like far away from the entrance and exit. They had a tent going, several people sitting under it with their stadium chairs. And I didn't hear it until I got kind of close to them. And I was like, hey, because to me, it makes you feel good. It was just like some feel good music. It just made you feel good and happy as you're going in to vote. So I know as a voter, I enjoyed that because was I coming from work that time? I wasn't coming from work, but I was coming from, I think I had errands to run, but it felt good to hear that music. I was like, hey. And so anyway, no fun at the voting site in North Carolina. Okay, I'm just saying. All right, y'all. It is already 7:30. I have a few more things to go over with you. I did not plan to be that long on these proposed amendments not amendments. That's not right. It's not amendments. They are proposed election guidelines. You all, please, if you are in North Carolina, please look up these voting site rules. So I have created a website called NorthCarolinaVoterInfo.weebly.com. I'm going to put it in the description so that you all can go straight to the site. I've already put the PDFs up of the language. You can read it. The information about the email that you can use to submit your comments is already available on the website. If you want to send a letter to them, the address is on the website. Excuse me, y'all. Let me take a drink. If you are in North Carolina, if you want to go to the public hearing specifically for the voting sites proposed guideline, the hearing is on January 29th, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. So next Tuesday at 10 a.m. in the boardroom at the State Board of Elections, Dobbs Building, 430 North Salisbury Street, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27603. Okay. I'm sorry, Monday. It's next Monday. I apologize. Next Monday. I knew that didn't sound right. I was like, that Tuesday don't sound right. The 29th is that Monday. So if you want to get in on the public hearing, that's the information, June 29th at 10 a.m. I recommend you get there early because, people are going to be going to work and parking and other people will be going for the public hearing. So get there early if you decide to go. Or again, you can email your comments before the allotted time. Let me tell you what the time is. Okay, so comment period, it started May 15th and it ends on July 14th. So if you're not able to go in person, make sure that you get your comment in by July 14th, whether you're emailing it or whether you're sending a letter, get it in by July 14th. Okay. All right, y'all. So that information is going to be in the description. So y'all give me just a few minutes after the broadcast ends to be able to get the information on the website. So look, y'all, I had to share this with y'all. I've been looking at so many, y'all, it's going to be at least another hour. Sorry, y'all, but I'm going to get this information out. It took me a long time to get through that, and I apologize. Oh, I forgot I did my Black History facts and all that. Anyway, let me keep going. There's some other things that you all need to know. These are some constitutional amendments, you all, that we need to know about. Before I get to the constitutional amendments, y'all, let me get to these proposed hold on. Yeah, so this is a combination because I got two different kinds of information. So okay, y'all, I'm gonna tether back and forth between the information I have. So I'm gonna start, these are the constitutional amendments. Okay, so I want to start with I'm gonna start with 10. I think I want to start with 1080. Yeah, I'm gonna start with 1080. So you all, I first saw this information at the Democracy NC Instagram page. I'm gonna just tell you where I found it from, full transparency. I saw it on the Instagram page. And then of course I went searching for myself, and I actually have this proposed Senate Bill 1080, an act to amend the North Carolina Constitution to provide that the maximum tax rate on incomes cannot exceed 3.5%. So I'm looking at the actual proposed amendment on the North Carolina legislative.gov website, y'all. I'm going to put all this information on the website, y'all. Now, these are not on the website yet, so y'all going to have to give me maybe about 30 minutes or so to get this on and get it all saved and upload it to the website so you all can look at it right from the website. You don't have to tether back and forth like I'm doing right now. So this is actual a constitutional amendment. I'm not going to tell y'all how to vote. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to vote, but I'm not going to tell you how to vote. You vote your conviction. Once you read the Senate Bill 1080, you vote your conviction. Okay, vote your conviction. All right, y'all. So this is the income tax cap. So Senate Bill 1080 would cap the North Carolina state income tax rate at 3.5% in the Constitution. You all, currently it is 7%. That's what the language, I'm going to read it to you. This is section 1. Okay, of the North Carolina Constitution. There, it's in section 2 of Article 5 of the North Carolina Constitution. I'm actually going to put the Constitution link up here as well. Y'all, I know this is a lot of information, but y'all stick with me. And this is recorded, so you can always go back and listen to it later, y'all, because I know that this is a lot of information. It was a lot of information for me to be reading through it to try to synthesize it. And try to synthesize it to get it to you. But this is going to be on our ballot, y'all. Okay. Section 2 of Article 5 of the North Carolina Constitution. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like. The amendment set out in Section 1 of this act shall be submitted to the qualified voters of the state at the statewide general election to be held on November 3rd, 2026, which election shall be conducted in accordance with the laws governing elections at that time. The question to be used in the voting systems and ballots shall be for or against. Okay, for or against. Okay, so the constitutional amendment to keep the state income tax rate from being raised higher than 3.5%, which is 3.5%. Currently, the information is this is what it says currently. Income tax. The rate of tax on incomes shall not in any case exceed 7%, and there shall be allowed personal exemptions and deductions so that only net incomes are taxed. Okay, that's how it reads now. Now I'm going to give you the strikeout. The proposal is for this particular portion to say the rate of tax on income shall not in any case exceed 3.5%. That's the inserted information. And there shall be allowed personal exemptions and deductions so that only net incomes are taxed. Why did so this is what people are thinking. Oh, they're going to tax me less. That's great for my pocketbook. That's great for my wallet. Y'all let's think this through. Let's think it through. 7% has been on the books for however long it's been on the books. I don't know if it's been on the books since whenever, but it's been on the books for a while. Y'all, let me tell you what these taxes do. These taxes fund schools. They fund our public services, such as social services, child services for our children who are in social services. I don't know if I'm not going to say that, so I don't know, but it funds our public services. I think that includes Medicaid and Medicare as well. It also funds infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, like our income tax funds all of these public schools, our infrastructure, such as roads, such as bridges. It funds our social services as well. I feel like that includes Medicaid, Medicare, and other social services that I don't want to say food stamps, but that's the best way. But that's the best way I can call it. And then WIC, which is for our mothers that need that support to get the milk and other food and other resources for them and their child. So that's what our income tax does. If we cap that at so currently in our public, let me calm down because I'm hyped. Currently in our public schools, there have been a decrease in funds for counselors, for school nurses, and for other viable staff positions that our children need. If we decrease or put a cap on income tax, then that will decrease further the nurses and the social workers and the counselors that we need in our schools to support our children. That's just from the public school perspective as a public school employee. As it relates to roads, I know for me, I commute to work. So there was much needed work on the road that I travel. I travel a highway every single day back and forth to work. They have made repairs over the years that I've been using this road. There have been several upgrades not several upgrades, but there have been upgrades to the road. There have been just about a year or so ago, there was some upgrading to one of the bridges that is heavily traveled every single day. And that made me feel good to know that my tax dollars is going to keep this bridge together. Because, child, I've been praying every time I go over that bridge, Lord, let this bridge stay intact. Let the nuts and the bolts remain intact so I can get over this bridge safely. And yes, I do be praying that. Amen. In Jesus' name. And so if our taxes are capped, then what is that going to do with our bridges, our roads, other infrastructure? What is it going to do with our social services for our elderly and for our children and for other families and adults that are in need? What is it going to do for our public schools? They make you think you're saving, but over the long run, it is not going to be beneficial. Stephanie Humphrey, is voting against this particular constitutional amendment. You vote your conviction. I'm voting against. You vote your conviction. Once you read it and do some research, you vote your conviction. But I am not for this, not even a little bit. I mean, and even the current cap of 7%, y'all, that's not a lot. Like 7, it would be different if it was like 15 and then they're trying to bring it down to 7. Okay, that's a little bit different. But y'all, 7% income tax is not a lot. And like I said, because I've already heard somebody say, oh, they trying to save me some money. I'm all for this. I need you to do some research. I need you to, before you make a decision, do some research so that you can make an informed decision before you go to the voting place on November 3rd, 2026, or if you're doing absentee ballot, or if you're doing early voting, if you're doing mail-in voting starts in September in North Carolina. Y'all get it. All right. September it starts. I don't remember the date right now. Check the website. I'll put the link or put the description or put the link in the description. But y'all, we got to know what is happening and then read the entire thing. because there's other sections in here that I'm not going to read right now because I'm already taking them. But y'all, this one is short. It's just a one pager. It's really, really short. But over the long haul, this is not going to be beneficial for North Carolina, in my opinion. So I know what I'm voting. Y'all vote your conviction. Okay. So that's the income tax cap, Senate Bill 1080. Okay. I want to go to Senate Bill 921 next. I can't remember if I pulled 921 up. I did not pull Senate Bill 921 up, but I'm going to share with you what it says while I'm trying to pull it up. So we've already talked a little bit about this, about photo ID for all voters, but this is actually a constitutional amendment that they are wanting to change. So think about it, you all. They're already proposing an election rule about photo ID. Now they want to put it in the Constitution about photo ID. I'm not with that. I am not with that. So let me look up North Carolina Senate Bill, because I want you all to know that I'm looking up the language, and I forgot to look this one up. I want y'all to hear me say that too. I forgot to pull this one up, but I'm about to pull it up so you all know that I'm actually looking at the language as well. Senate Bill 921 got the edition that I want to get. I'm looking at it right now, y'all. Now this is short, so I'm gonna read it. No, this is not the right one. Is this the right one? Senate Bill 921. No, this is not the right one. Okay, so it says Senate Bill 921, but it's not for North Carolina, but it's not the correct one that I'm looking at. Because that one was county specific, so it's not the right one. Okay, so let me look it up a different way. So let me share with you the information I have in front of me. Senate Bill 921 would expand the photo ID requirement to include absentee and mail-in voters. The North Carolina Supreme Court struck down a nearly identical law in 2022 for discriminatory intent, then reversed itself 5 the court flipped to a Republican minority, a Republican majority, not minority. So here it is right here. Okay, no, I got the right one. Okay, y'all got the right one. That one was county specific, so I knew it wasn't right. So here it is. I got it now. So photo identification for, it used to say voting in person, but now it struck out voting in person and it just says voting. It struck out offering, like voters offering to vote in person shall present photographic identification before voting, and struck out offering to vote in person. Again, this is about individuals present. Now, how are you going to present your photo ID if you're doing absentee or mail-in ballot? Like, you're not going to send your photo ID to them. Woo! All right. So, child, we got to be careful, child. I'm telling you, we got to watch what's going on in North Carolina because they're trying to slip some little crazy stuff up in here. So I do want to read this information again from Democracy NC. North Carolina courts already ruled this was designed to disenfranchise Black voters. Then they got new judges and they tried again. So that's why it was reversed. Republicans judges reversed this particular law from 2022. I know I'm voting against it, but you vote your conviction. You vote how you want to vote. Once I get the information in, you vote how you want to vote. But I know I'm voting against this. So the registration actually says voting in person as a headline for Section 3, but it strikes that out and it just says voting. So they're making it in general voting. So I still don't know, like, how would absentee and mail-in voters present an ID? Does that make sense to y'all? If it makes sense to you, add it to the comment section. So help me, y'all. I need some help with this one because this is a stupid constitutional amendment. Okay. I just don't know how you can do it. And I don't see any guidelines. So I think this actually goes back to the voter. This is in alignment with the proposed voter guidelines. This is in alignment with this. This is exactly what this is. All right, y'all. Let's keep going. Again, I'm going to share this information with y'all so y'all can read it for yourself. That one is really a quick read, you all. So that was Senate Bill 921. It's a really quick reading. I got about 6 more to go, y'all. We got time. I might do it before 8:30. All right, so this is this is House Bill 1089, and I do have that one pulled up. It's a property tax levy limit, okay? House Bill 1089 would limit counties' ability to raise revenue, especially during funding shortfalls, like when there's no state budget. Do y'all know in North Carolina, our legislators, that is Republican, Iran, still have not submitted a budget? We still do not have a budget in North Carolina after, I think it's been, if it hasn't been a year, it's been close to a year, and we still don't have a budget. But they got time to propose these constitutional amendments, and they got time to write these proposed election guidelines, but y'all don't have time to vote on the budget? Are y'all kidding me right now? I digress for a moment. House Bill 1089 would limit counties' ability to raise, and it counties, the apostrophe is after the S, so you all will know what that looks like. Ability to raise revenue, especially during funding shortfalls, like when there's no state budget, because we don't have a state budget in North Carolina, and make it harder for local governments to reassess property values to keep up with community needs. So in other words, Republicans in North Carolina have not passed a budget, and they're trying to limit what counties can do to ensure that there's enough funds to run their particular county. Because y'all know this counties, we get state funds. If y'all pass a budget, y'all wouldn't have to do this proposed constitutional amendment if y'all would pass a doggone budget. Anywho, I digress slightly. And let me see what it says here. It's property tax limitation. The General Assembly shall enact general laws limiting the amount by which the levy of taxes on property may increase, which may include exceptions. Okay, that is the new language proposed in this particular House Bill 1089. Okay, it strikes out purposes of property tax. That's the only strikeout. Purposes of property tax, and it adds property tax purposes, comma, limitation. And then it adds that language that I just shared with you. Okay. Child, why would a state want to limit the levy on taxes for counties, especially if a budget has not been passed? That means that counties are not getting the resources that they need in their particular county to serve their constituents. So you don't pass a budget, and then you want to tell the counties what to do with their money or how to go forward in ensuring they have enough money for their citizens, for their constituents. Like the young people say, make it make sense. I'm voting no. Y'all know I'm voting no on that. Because we don't want to limit counties. We want counties to have the full authority to do what they need to do to provide the services and programming that they need for their community, for their constituents. All right, y'all, moving on. Right to work. Now this one got me. Now this right here. There is already a general statute. I'm so mad that I could not find my paper. And I didn't look it up, but I'm about to look it up right now. But there is already a general statute that discusses right to work. But the Republicans are proposing an actual constitutional amendment that would limit, it would make it permanent that, okay, I'm going to read it so I'll make sure I get it right. But I'm going to look up the general statute as well. because I forgot to pull it up because I had it on my paper. I might have threw it away. I've been cleaning up, child. Ain't no telling. So, right to work is already the law in North Carolina and has been since 1947. It's a general statute. It's a law. Senate Bill 1082 would make it permanent by writing it into the state constitution. Woosah. This is particularly alarming for state employees and teachers because y'all know we had that march on May 1st in North Carolina. Unfortunately, I was out. I was not able to attend because I already had something to do that was pressing, and so I wasn't able to be there, and I hated that. But we marched, we went on strike, we talked with our legislators about right to work in North Carolina. Right to work states pay workers 3.2% less on average than states that are able to form unions. Okay. Let me just read it, y'all. But if this constitutional amendment passes, then they are, in a sense, solidifying that there is no way for workers in North Carolina to negotiate their salary or to negotiate benefits on their job. And so I want to read a little bit more about this. In another post that I received from the North Carolina Senate Dems headquarters, because I think it's valid. I want you all to know that there is a senator, his name is, I don't even want to share his name, but this particular senator actually said about this Senate Bill 1082 that it, quote unquote, it is basically an insurance, quote, basically an insurance policy. He's basically saying this will ensure that our state does not unionize. This will ensure that our workers will not try to negotiate their salaries and negotiate their benefits. It is, quote unquote, an insurance policy. That was his. And his name was Senator Ted Alexander. Yes, I am going to call him out. Senator Ted Alexander. Okay. The impact of this is as follows. Day to day, nothing changes because the statute already exists. The real impact is on democracy. Future voters and legislators lose the ability to revisit labor policy and advance workers' rights through normal lawmaking if this becomes a constitutional amendment. Let me read you all what it currently says. In Article 10, hold on. So the North Carolina General Statutes, Chapter 95, Article 10 reads as follows. So this is 95, it is under Article 10, and it's 95-78 Declaration of Public Policy. The right to live includes the right to work. The exercise of the right to work must be protected and maintained free from undue restraints and coercion. It is hereby declared to be the public policy of North Carolina that the right of persons to work shall not be denied or abridged on account of membership or non-membership in any labor union or labor organization or association. So essentially, they are restricting us from forming a union and being able to negotiate our salaries and negotiate our benefits and things of that nature. That's what the language already states. We do not need a constitutional amendment in order for this to happen because it's already a law in North Carolina. We do not need a constitutional amendment for this. So Stephanie Humphrey will be voting against this constitutional amendment. You vote your conviction. You vote whatever you're going to vote. I'm just telling you what Stephanie Humphrey going to do. I'm voting no on this because it's already a law in North Carolina. It does not need to be in the Constitution. All it will do is, again, make it harder for lawmakers to stand up for workers' rights and negotiate this. It really don't even need to be a law already, but y'all know this. I'm sure this was under some Republican rule, but it's been this way since 1947. All right, y'all. So that's another constitutional amendment. Y'all need to check it out so you know what you're voting for. Praise the Lord. All right, I got two more, I think. Oh, I actually got four more. I said four more. I actually had six more. Okay, but I actually got four more. So this is a right to farm. So Senate Bill 1081 uses the same language as the 2018 Farm Bill, which after it was introduced, it garnered lawsuits against Smithfield by mainly Black and Indigenous and people of color communities suffering health impacts from industrial hog farms. This North Carolina amendment will lock agricultural practices into the Constitution and limit water quality oversight. Not only would it do that, but there's nothing, and I do remember reading this. I'm gonna pull it up. It doesn't say anything about small farmers, like local farmers. It doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't provide any protections for our local farmers, for our small business farmers. To me, this would benefit big agricultural businesses. To me, that's what this is for. If you read it's Senate Bill 1080, not 1080, I'm sorry, that's not right. 1081, excuse me, 1081. And I think I have it up because I remember reading it. So I don't have it up. I'm sorry, y'all. I thought I had it up because I was reading this one earlier. Because I wanted to read the language. I wanted to see exactly what the language was saying in this particular one. I got it pulled up right here, you all. So it doesn't take anything away from the existing statute, but it does add this language in. Y'all got to be careful because them Republicans, boy, they be trying to be tricky. But this is Section 1, and it would actually add Section 39 to Section 1 of Article 1 of the North Carolina Constitution. The right of the people to engage in the cultivation of crops, the raising of livestock and poultry, the production of dairy and apiary products. I don't know what that is, so I'll have to look it up. The harvesting of timber and other practices for the production of agricultural and forestry commodities is a valued and essential part of the state's heritage and shall be forever preserved for the public good, subject only to laws enacted by the General Assembly and rules adopted pursuant to authority granted by the General Assembly. People already have the right to farm. That's why we have farms. People already have the right to harvest lumber. That's why we have lumber mills. This constitutional amendment is not needed because, if I'm not mistaken, the Farm Bill is still in existence. I believe it is. I feel like I looked it up. So, but they now want to again make it a constitutional amendment. Yep. So this was passed June 27, 2018. Yeah. So this is still a law in North Carolina. So why we need a constitutional amendment for it, I can't say. And I do want it noted that the governor did veto this bill. This is a long one. Again, this doesn't address, it just says the right of the people. Yes, people do have the right to do these things, but we're already doing these things. And again, I really feel like this is for big business and not to support our local farmers. And we have quite a few local farmers in North Carolina, and I definitely don't want them to lose their farm or lose their livelihood because larger agricultural companies will be producing products that would eventually cause these local farmers to potentially lose their business. Now, again, this is already a law in North Carolina, so why it has to be a constitutional amendment, I don't know. I just don't think it's necessary. So I know Stephanie Humphrey will be voting against this. Y'all vote your conviction. Y'all vote however y'all want to vote. And I know voting is private, but for these constitutional amendments, I think it's important for me to let y'all know what I'm going to do. Not that it may or may not be important to you, and that's okay. But I think it's important to me to share what I'm going to do. Y'all vote your conviction, as always. Y'all vote your conviction. I'm going to bypass this one for just a minute. Well, actually, let me get to it. Now, I did not look this one up, so I'm going to share the information that I have. So this particular constitutional amendment is House Bill 144. I am going to look it up, though. Let me make sure I didn't pull it up. Okay, I didn't. So I'll look it up later. But this is, it would restructure the State Board of Education starting in 2028. Probably didn't look it up on purpose, right? Because I didn't want to be too mad before I came on the show. So House Bill 144 would restructure the State Board of Elections starting in 2028, making the superintendent of public instruction the board's chair and shifting all other board seats to elected district positions. Shifting the State Board of Education to district positions using maps drawn by the state legislature opens up opportunity for partisan interference and racial gerrymandering. I will definitely be voting no on this particular bill. House Bill 1232. I purposely did not look this one up, but I am going to later. But this is life at fertilization. House Bill 1232 would amend the state constitution to declare that a distinct human life begins at fertilization, entitling that individual to legal protections from that moment until natural death. So this is what has been stated about the introduction of this particular House bill. This is a quote. The state has an interest and a duty to defend innocent persons from willful destruction of their lives and to punish those who take the lives of persons born or unborn who have not committed any crimes punishable by death. I'm going to read that again in your hearing. This is a quote. The state has an interest and a duty to defend innocent persons from willful destruction of their lives and to punish those who take the lives of persons born or unborn who have not committed any crimes punishable by death. If Republicans were so interested in life, then they would not have decreased Medicaid for families, for children. They would not have decreased Medicare for the elderly. They would not have significantly decreased or made it more difficult for families to get SNAP benefits. If they were so concerned about all life. You are concerned about an egg. And they said on inception, the way I'm reading this means when the sperm and the egg gather themselves and the sperm, what word I'm trying to use? Fertilizes, thank you. When the sperm fertilizes the egg, then if you kill, now I don't even know how you're going to know then, because a lot of women don't know until several weeks later that they're pregnant. But this bill would say that there will be punishment for you if you get rid of this child. A constitutional amendment about fertilization. I wish men would leave women alone because so this is what I feel. This is what I feel. I have said this on my show before. It's probably been a while. If you all want to be in my uterus, if you all want to keep women from, I look, abortion is not, I would never tell a woman to get an abortion or not get an abortion. That's between you and your God, if you serve one, and you and your medical professional. I don't have nothing to do with it, okay? I have my own personal thoughts. I will not share them because I don't want to at this time, but I'm not going to tell a woman to get an abortion or to keep a baby because that's not my business. Again, that's between their God and their doctor, okay? I don't have nothing to do with it. But what I don't like is somebody that's got a penis telling me what to do with my uterus. Because the way I feel is if you want to be in my uterus, then those men who are out there sexually assaulting and raping women and young girls and boys and those sex slave traffickers, their penis needs to be cut off. And I mean that with everything that is within me. Their penis needs to be cut off if they are caught sexually assaulting or raping a young girl, a woman, a boy, old man, whatever the case may be. Their penis needs to be chopped off. And I mean what I'm saying. If y'all want to be in a woman's uterus, if you want to talk about life, chop that penis off. That way that they will not try that, not no more. Let me make them a eunuch in Jesus' name. Hallelujah. And I mean that with everything that is within me. I mean it with everything that is within me. Y'all want to be in my uterus and y'all penis need to be snipped, cut, chopped, macheted off if y'all want to rape and sexually assault folks. My name is Stephanie Humphrey, and I doggone approve that doggone message, okay? So I will be voting against this. I will be voting against this. And I'm going to leave that there. Okay, I got one more. Yes, I got one more. We're gonna be done. I probably should have been done after that one, but we're going to be done after this. Council of State vacancies. House Bill 443 would require the governor to fill vacancies in statewide offices only from a list submitted by the departing North Carolina officer's political party, stripping executive appointment power. Child, these Republicans done lost their rocker. They lost their entire mind. Let me just tell you. I will be voting no against this one too. I'm done. I've done talked enough about this. I need to have some dinner. I hadn't had dinner. Have I had dinner? I had a little snack before I came out. I have not had a real dinner. I normally try not to eat this late, but it's going to be what it's going to be. So anyway, that's the information, y'all. I know it was a lot. Oh my gosh, it was a lot. But it was important for me to share this information with you. Again, y'all give me a little bit of time to add the constitutional amendments to the website so that you can have all of this information in one place. I will also add the links. That's why y'all need to give me a little bit more time. I'll add the links to the general statute page so that you can look it up for yourself, okay? These are proposed amendments, so but you'll be able to see the language with the PDF that I'll put on the website. And again, I'll put the link to the to the North Carolina government website so you can look these things up for yourself as well, because I feel like that's important for you to have that information. So give me about an hour. So maybe give me 2 hours. Give me a couple of hours. Let me eat. And then I'll try to get this done by tonight. At least no later than tomorrow. I'll go ahead and put the website in, and I'll get this information in either tonight or in the morning. Okay, you all. Yeah, I think that's all I want to say. North Carolina, just want us to know what's happening and want us to pay attention to what is happening in our state. There's some other things that's happening, but I'm going to stop there. But any other information that I get, I'll put it on the website so that we all can be informed about what's going on. You know, it takes a lot of time to research all this stuff and read through some of this stuff, but I do the best I can to understand it and get it to you. And I apologize if I made some mistakes. I do get a little emotional sometimes about these things. So if I made any mistakes, you all, I'm open to correction. You know, I'm human and I'm definitely open to correction. So if you see something that's not quite right or doesn't quite align, just put a message. I don't mind. Everybody can see it. It's okay. You know, just put a message in the comment section. Be like, Stephanie, you didn't get that right. I am willing to I'm not willing to make mistakes. I don't like making mistakes, but I'm willing to correct myself if I do make mistakes. So I just want that, to be clear. I do want to say, you all, I do have two bits of news. It's going to be quick. I want to just, I want us to keep the Venezuelan people in our prayers. They experienced two earthquakes. One was at a 7.2 and one was at a 7.4. And so right now, of course, well, not at this moment potentially, but the report I was reading earlier today, it was indicated that 188 people have died and 40,000 people are missing. Okay. 900 have been reported injured. Okay. And those two earthquakes occurred within 39 seconds of each other. So please let's keep the Venezuelan people in our thoughts, in our prayers. If there's something that we can do to help them, I don't know if there's any aid that is going to them yet. I didn't read that information. But if there's any aid that's going to them and you are able to help, and if you want to help, I encourage you to research the organizations that are helping them and just choose wisely who you'll give money to or give resources to help the people of Venezuela. Last thing that I want to say, now this is new, you all, and so I don't have a lot of information on it. Something I heard about a couple of weeks ago and was learning some more information about it today. But there is a new, and I'm going to put the link in the description, okay? But there is a new AI platform called Aisha AI. I am not promoting AI. I want that to be clear, but I am promoting this particular site. I have not gone on to it yet. Okay, it just launched today, y'all. Okay, I'm just giving you the information so you can look it up for yourself. The reason why I'm excited about it is because a Black woman and her team put this together, and I'm all about Black entrepreneurship and Black everything. Issa Rae said, I'm celebrating voting for everything Black, everybody Black. But I'm at this moment, I'm really not. But at that time, at the award ceremony, voting for everything Black. So, anywho, I'm supporting this Black woman in her entrepreneurial spirit. The name of the app is Aisha AI. So, Aisha AISHA. AI for artificial intelligence. And it is supported by the Onyx Impact. I do not have the link. I had pulled up the link earlier, but I'll put it in the description. I don't know if I'm going to download this app, y'all. I need to look at it some more. I did look at it a little bit. I heard the young lady talking on a show I was watching earlier, and she shared information about it. So again, I'm excited for her. I'm not sold on artificial intelligence yet, but I am going to check out this Black woman's web app and see if I'm going to be a part of her app. It is Black. It's focused for Black. It's for Black folk. Praise God. It's focused on Black peoples. It's open to everybody, but it's just focused specifically on us, for us. And so I wanted to share that information with you. So check it out. If you want to get the app, get the app. If you don't want to get the app, don't get the app, child. Just sharing information, supporting another Black-owned business. Ooh, I want to call her name, but I can't remember if I'm remembering the right name. So y'all just look her up for yourself. Okay. I am done for the evening. I want to thank you all for hanging in here with me for these hour and 43 minutes and counting. I appreciate your love. I appreciate your support to the podcast listeners. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to my YouTube listeners. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I will see you all, y'all, next time we gather ourselves together. It's going to be July. Did y'all have a good Juneteenth? I did, child. I had a good Juneteenth. But I don't know. I normally don't I'm about to say, I don't know if I'm celebrating July 4th. I normally don't. I haven't in the last several years. I probably won't either. I may still mention, the celebration for those who do celebrate. I respect that. If you celebrate, I respect that. But next Thursday is going to be July 2nd, 2026. Y'all, I will see you then at 6:30 p.m. for a Bible study. Okay. We're going to get into the word. I don't know what I'm going to teach, but we're going to get into the word, and I will see you all, Lord willing, next Thursday, July 2nd at 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. right here on the Stephanie Humphrey channel and the Stephanie Humphrey podcast. Oh, I can't even talk. I need some water. You all be blessed. Take care now.